So with the transfer window closing tomorrow, the rumours going around the Championship are really starting to heat up. So today, guys, we have another episode of the Championship Transfer Rumour Roundup, and we've got a lot to talk about in this video. So make sure you do leave a like if you do go on to enjoy the video. Let me know down below what players are your club still in need of. Of course, the transfer window does close tomorrow, but we still have the loan window open until the end of the month. So we could see quite a bit more business being done after tomorrow. But tomorrow is the official deadline, and today, guys, we got a lot to talk about. Also, let me know down below, what did you make of all the midweek action going on in the Championship? For Aston Villa, we saw Alan Hutton turn into Lionel Messi for them. Middlesbrough went ahead and battered Sheffield United 3-0 with all three goals coming in the first 25 minutes. And then we saw Nottingham Forest go ahead and draw 1-1 with West Brom. So let me know what you guys thought of those games down below. So we'll first of all get into talking about some of the completed deals which have gone through in the last week in the Championship. We saw Wigan go ahead and complete the loan signing of Anthony Robinson. He's coming in as a left back from Everton on a season-long loan. They also went ahead and signed Cedric Kipri, coming in from Motherwell as a centre-back. Motherwell fans quite highly rated him. And as well as that, they also went ahead and offered Darren Gibson a contract after he had been on trial with them for the last few weeks, and all three of those players, new signings for Wigan, all featured in their first game against Sheffield Wednesday, and all had a very positive start, winning 3-2. We also saw Bolton Wanderers complete the signing of Gary O'Neill. Last season playing for Bristol City, he was released at the end of that season. 35 years old now, of course, coming in as a central midfielder, brings a bit of experience into that Bolton side. Millwall completed the signing of Jiri Skalak. He arrived from Brighton, and in their promotion season, he was a player who I quite like the look of, actually, and coming in, Millwall, of course, were in need of a winger, and I think he can be quite a successful player for them. Tayo Adoon signed for Ipswich Town, coming in from Fulham on a loan for the season, and we actually saw him score on his debut against Blackburn Rovers, grabbing a late equaliser for them. Aston Villa signed Alex Tuanzebe. He's coming in from Manchester United as a centre-back. Last season he was actually loaned out to Villa as well. Blackburn Rovers went ahead and signed Newcastle striker Alex Armstrong. Last season he was on loan at Blackburn, and in 21 appearances for them he managed to go ahead and score 9 goals. His record in the Championship isn't the best, but he certainly gives this Blackburn side a different dynamic going forward. Being quite small, fast and nimble, he'll be a good option for them. West Brom went ahead and completed the loan signing of Dwight Gale, coming in from Newcastle in a swap deal for Rondon. He's going to Newcastle for the season, and Dwight Gale is coming into West Brom. His last season in the Championship for Newcastle, he managed to go ahead and score 23 goals and gives this West Brom side a different dynamic going forward. Of course, he brings a bit of pace going forward and gives them a bit more cutting edge as well. Brentford completed the signing of Moses Odebajo. He's coming in on a free transfer after he was released by Hull last season. He did used to play for Brentford as well. He made his move from Brentford to Hull City, but returning to Brentford now, I think this will be a good option for him at right back. Birmingham completed the loan signing of Conor Mahoney. He's coming in on a season loan from Bournemouth. I've not seen much of him in recent years, but from his time at Blackburn Rovers, I was always quite a big fan of him. So I'm interested in what he can do in the Birmingham shirt this season. And Birmingham also completed the loan signing of Omar Bogle, coming in from Cardiff City on a season-long loan. I'm interested to see what he can do. He's a 6'3" striker, can hold up play pretty well. He's not got the greatest of scoring records in the Championship, but he'll be a good option for Birmingham this year. Aston Villa completed the signing of Norwegian goalkeeper Orjan Nyland. He's arriving from Ingolstadt. We saw Martin Presnov then go ahead and complete the loan signing of Brandon Baker. He's coming in from Manchester City on a season-long loan. Preston were in need of another winger after Billy Bowden had been ruled out for 6 months, so a good option there. Ipswich Town went ahead and completed a double signing of Toto Ancilla and John Nolan, both coming in from Shrewsbury. So we're seeing Paul Hurst there using his connections with his former club. Both coming in have very good seasons for Shrewsbury in League One last year. John Nolan went ahead and scored 9 goals from midfield for them, so 2 promising signings there for Ipswich. One of the big transfers which has recently gone through was, of course, Adama Traore, who did complete his move to Wolves. Middlesbrough fans, I'll be very interested to get your thoughts on this one in the comments down below. I think this one had been on the cards for quite a while, really. He was being linked with a move to the Premier League all throughout this transfer window, and now that it's come off, I'd be interested to see how Middlesbrough go forward this season. Of course, they were playing on Tuesday night without him and didn't seem to struggle, managing to put 3 goals past Sheffield United, but over the course of a season, a player like Traore will be missed for Middlesbrough, and they'll need to make sure to replace his quality. Another big player we saw leaving the Championship was, of course, Vidra. He's going to head and sign for Burnley. I think that, once again, this one was on the cards for a long time, really. Perhaps not, we didn't see him going to Burnley, but Derby were wanting to get rid of Vidra, really. He didn't necessarily fit into Frank Lampard's new system, and with some of the attacking players that they've now brought in, I think Derby are in a better position now than they were this time last season, even with losing a player as quality as Vidra. And speaking of Derby, they weren't messing around around, they went ahead and completed the signing of Martin Wycorn, arriving from Ipswich Town. Ipswich and Derby fans, I'm very interested to get your thoughts on this one. Of course, last season for Ipswich, he got into double figures for both goals and assists, and looking at some of the players who Derby have as their attacking options this season, they've got no excuses. They really should be up there this season. So there were some of the recently completed deals which have gone through in the Championship. If I did miss any out, make sure to let me know about them in the comments down below. But enough of that, guys. Let's go ahead and get into some transfer rumours. So we'll start the video out by talking about Jack Grealish, and a lot has been made of this. He's been linked away to Tottenham for the entirety of this transfer window, but Sky Sports are reporting that Aston Villa have categorically come out and said that he will not be sold in this transfer window, which is a massive statement of intent if he does manage to stay. It was being reported that Tottenham were going to put in a bid of around about 20 to 25 million for the playmaker, but it's looking like Aston Villa are going to stand firm in this transfer window, and Jack Grealish, at this point in time, it's looking like he won't be leaving. Of course, anything can happen between now and the end of the window, but the reports coming out now are saying that Aston Villa will not sell him. Speaking of Aston Villa, they're currently being linked with a move for Shea Iojo from Liverpool. This one would probably be on a loan deal. A couple of weeks ago, there were reports coming out saying that Liverpool valued him at around about £15 million. I don't think that that would be a great deal, really, but coming in as a loan, he'd probably go on to be a decent player for Villa. And then one transfer which looks to be pretty much all but over the line for Villa is going to be Joe Bryan. There looks to have been a fee agreed with Bristol City for £4 million, could be rising up to £6 million for the attacking fullback. And I've said it in many videos, I think that Joe Bryan is probably one of the best attacking fullbacks in the Championship. Left back was a position where Villa needed to strengthen in this window, and to be getting a player of Joe Bryan's quality in, I think Villa are going in the right direction. He will be a loss for Bristol City, but to be getting that amount of money for a player who only has 1 year left on his contract, I think this is a good deal for both clubs. Speaking of Bristol City, it looks like they're going to be looking at Sam McQueen as Joe Bryan's replacement. He's a 23-year-old left back from Southampton. Last season featured in 6 games in the Premier League for them, and perhaps will be a decent replacement for Bryan. Bristol City are also looking to bring in Stephen Henderson from Nottingham Forest. He'll probably come in as a number 2 goalkeeper while Frankie Fielding is out injured. But now moving on to talking about Middlesbrough. Since Adama Traore has left, they've got a bit of a void to go ahead and fill in that team, and the player they've been linked to at the moment is Yannick Bolasie of Everton. Everton are looking to get rid of the winger with players like Richarlison and looking like Bernard coming in to Everton. So at this point in time, Bolasie is being talked about. The fee would be in and around about £15 million. Middlesbrough fans, let me know down below, what do you make of this speculation? In my opinion, he would be a terrific player in the Championship. For Everton, he's not been brilliant. His final product doesn't really seem to be there. But if you get him playing with confidence, he can be an absolute world beater. And in the Championship, I think that would be a terrific deal. We'll also see Middlesbrough being linked with a few strikers at this point in time. Sam Vokes, the first one being talked about. Of course, Burnley striker at the moment. The fee being talked about is around about £10 million for him. That seemingly is putting Middlesbrough off this deal. But reportedly, a deal has been agreed between West Ham and Middlesbrough for the loan move of Jordan Hugill. It looks like he will be moving to Middlesbrough, and I've got a couple things to say about this. I think he will go ahead and fit into a Tony Pulis system. You know, he's a very physical striker, and in my opinion, is probably one of the best hold-up players in the Championship. He's certainly not a clinical goal scorer. If you get him into one-on-one situations, he will probably miss more than he'll score. His highest season in the Championship managed to score 12 goals with Preston. But if you play to his strengths and have technical players that playing in and around him where he can flick the ball onto, he can be an incredibly effective player. And Middlesbrough are still interested in Mohamed Besic. Last season spent on loan at Middlesbrough as well. He was highly impressed in the Championship. However, Leeds United are also said to be interested in the Everton defensive midfielder. We spoke about this one quite a bit in our last video, but Sheffield United still being interested in Daniel Johnson. Reportedly, he has turned down the contract at Preston North End, with Preston not meeting his wage demands. In my opinion, I wouldn't really be that sad to see him go, really. Under Alex Neil's system, it requires energetic, high-pressing midfielders, and Daniel Johnson doesn't really fit into that. He's still got an abundance of quality, but he just still strikes me as a little bit too lazy to go ahead and really excel in this Alex Neil team. Over the past few years at Preston, consistency has been Daniel Johnson's main problem, really. In League One, he was an absolute world beater for us, but he just hasn't progressed at the same level as all of our other players have in recent years. So a move to Sheffield United, I think, could be good for his career, really. And speaking of Sheffield United, it's now been reported that they are interested in Millwall striker Lee Gregory. What's interesting about this is I believe that he's actually a Sheffield United fan. He was born in Sheffield, so potentially this rumour could have some legs to it. Millwall, of course, aren't going to be keen to sell him. He's one of their main players at the moment. He actually scored in the opening weekend against Middlesbrough for them, so they're not going to be keen to sell him. They're not going to sell him on the cheap, but he's the latest player being linked to Sheffield United. And speaking of Millwall, they're still interested in Tom Bradshaw. This is a rumour which has resurfaced surfaced in the past couple of days, and there were some reports coming out that Millwall have made another bid for him. They got rejected a couple of weeks ago with them not willing to meet what Barnsley valued the player at, but reportedly Millwall are going back in for him. They probably are still in need of another striker, and they've not got long to get one in now. Another player being linked away from Millwall at the moment is George Saville. I'm sure Millwall fans just want this transfer window to go ahead and end, and to know that they've got all their players still there, but reportedly Leeds United and Aston Villa are both interested in the Millwall central midfielder. Last season he had a very impressive year, going ahead and scoring 10 goals. Of course, he arrived from Wolves that season and wasn't the greatest at Wolves, but really went ahead and fit in and clicked into that Millwall midfield, so they'll want to do everything they can to go ahead and keep hold of him. He's an important player for them. Leeds are also said to be interested in Oliver Norwood. Recently, Oliver Norwood has had quite a few loan deals out to the Championship. Always strikes me as a fairly solid player for the Championship. Got an eye for a pass, and he's good on the ball. And there are a whole catalogue of clubs currently interested in Marcus Maddison, the Peterborough United playmaker, currently being reported. Leeds, Aston Villa, Derby, Middlesbrough, Ipswich, and West Brom are all said to be interested. It is being said that he does want out of Peterborough. I think he showed last season grabbing 12 goals in all competitions from midfield. He is capable of making that step up to the Championship, and I mean, take your pick. We've got a lot of teams who are said to be interested. Speaking of Leeds, they're still continuing their search for another centre-back. One of the players being mentioned at the moment is Stephen Corker. He's currently playing his football in Scotland at Dundee, and I was surprised to see he's only 26 years old. I don't know if it's just me, but Stephen Corker just seems to be one of those players who has seemingly been around for absolutely ages, but only being 26 years old. His career has sort of tailed off in the last few years, but maybe a move to Leeds would revitalise that. However, maybe a safer deal for Leeds would be to go back in for Matthew Pennington. He spent last season on loan at Leeds and was fairly impressive from his time there. They are said to be interested in Matthew Pennington, obviously a centre-back currently playing for Everton. Another player Leeds are being linked to at the moment is Albert Adoma. This one caught me off guard a little bit, and I'd be interested to hear some Leeds fans' opinions on, would you like to see Adoma come into the club? I've seen quite a few contrasting opinions from Villa fans as to what they make of him. He can be quite inconsistent. Last season, in my opinion, I thought he had a very good year for them, especially at the start of that season where Aston Villa actually started last season fairly slowly. He was one of the only players who was really going ahead and stepping up for them at that point in time. But Albert Adoma to Leeds, what do you guys think? My team Preston North End are still in the hunt for another striker. The latest name being mentioned is Jonathan Walters of Burnley. Didn't feature a lot for them last season. I think he only played 3 or 4 games for them. But over his career, he has been a very solid striker in the Premier League for Stoke City. At the moment, I think he is 34, 35 years old. Certainly not the youngest of strikers, but would bring a bit of experience into our forward line. And realistically, we're just in need of any striker at this point. One transfer rumour which I found really interesting was Nahki Wells is being linked with a move to Derby County. Derby at the moment must have about 8 or 9 strikers. It is absolutely ridiculous. I think that if this move did come in, then surely that would mean that the likes of Chris Martin, Nick Blackman and Cameron Jerome will be looking to go out on loan, because Derby at the moment have an absolutely huge squad. And Birmingham City are being heavily linked with a move for Lee Camp, and this is a transfer rumour which I can't believe, really. At this point in time, of course, Birmingham have a bit of an odd situation with their goalkeeper. They've still got Stockdale and Kuziak on their books who are earning quite a bit of money. They're looking to shift them, but at the moment no one has come in for them. Of course, on the opening day of the season they had Truman playing for them, and at this point in time it looks like they may be going in for Lee Camp. He was last season playing for Sunderland and he was absolutely woeful for them. I know that Sunderland didn't have a good defence, but he really didn't help himself. Whenever I do watch him play for Sunderland, he didn't really seem to have the biggest stature and go ahead and fill the goal. His reaction times were very slow for a goalkeeper, and if he was coming in as a number 2, then maybe that wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. But if he's coming in order to be a number 1, Birmingham have got some problems there. It's also been said that Stoke City are interested in Bournemouth midfielder Harry Arter. What's interesting about this is Bournemouth have recently completed the deal for Jefferson Lerma, a Colombian defensive midfielder coming in from Levante. So that probably means that Harry Arter won't feature as much for Bournemouth this season as Stoke are said to be interested. Also, it's said that they are interested in Swansea midfielder Sam Clucas after the Wolves talk was dismissed. And then we're also seeing Ipswich Town being linked with a couple of players at the moment. Caden Jackson is looking quite likely, arriving from Accrington Stanley. Last season in League 2, he scored 16 goals and will be quite a good option for them. And they're also being linked with a move for Josh Windass of Rangers. And Josh Windass, a player who I really admire actually. Preston North End were linked to him a couple transfer windows ago, and after I watched some of his stuff at Rangers, I think that he would be an excellent player in the Championship. Ipswich, of course, have a very good record with Rangers players coming in. Recently signed the likes of Martin Wycorn and Joe Garner. And if this deal came in, you know, to have Josh Windass playing as number 10, I think Ipswich will be set up fairly good for this season. So guys, there you have it. That will wrap it up for this video. And there were some of the recent transfer rumours going around the Championship. So if you have seen any that we didn't mention in today's video, make sure to get them in the comments down below. And let me know down below, who would you like to see your club sign before transfer deadline day? But like I said, guys, that will now wrap it up. So make sure you do leave a like if you did go on to enjoy the video. Also as well, please do subscribe for some Championship content. But I'll see you all in the next one.